And as for arming the people in border communities, it's like people are being buried alive, being chopped up alive, eyes being pulled out, intestines being ripped out, and being raped, paraded. And Chandel district is one of the most highly poppy infested areas in the whole state. It is the district of his second wife. She is elected from that constituency and save its boundary, or they want to try breaking up Manipur, or we end up breaking India.
Hello viewers. We are in conversation with Manipur's former top cop and politician thounaojambrinda, and we are bringing you this interview from the war-ravaged Manipur. Brinda, a decorated and courageous police officer, has busted many drug rackets and has also arrested influential people with links to the cartel. Ms. Brinda has even accused Manipur's Chief Minister, Nbirensingh, of being part of the drug cartel, for which she has had to pay a price. Though she is affectionately known as the Lady Singham of Manipur, Brinda gave up her career as a police officer to make a foray into politics. Following the violent clashes between the two communities in Manipur, which has led to a lot of bloodshed ever since May 3rd, Brinda, who has drawn links between the drug cartel and politics, has demanded that President's rule be imposed in her state. Let us talk to her to get an insight into the happenings in this northeastern state, which has caught worldwide attention. Hello, ma'am.
Hello.
So, what according to you is happening in Manipur? And what do you think has triggered the violence? Was it all pre-planned? You've said that the drugs, opium and poppy cultivation are at the heart of this crisis. Or is this a conflict between the pro and the anti-drug groups?
What's taking place now is a long process, is the result of a long process. There has been systemic bad government policies that have divided people on ethnic lines since the last over 70 years. And both the central government and the state government, they have been actively encouraging these militants based in Myanmar to actively operate in Manipur, to divide the people on ethnic lines, using these militant groups against the people. And bad policies that have looted the people of their basic rights, that have siphoned off these public funds coming from Delhi. It doesn't reach the people common mass at all. So people have been impoverished and been deprived of their basic needs for decades. And on top of these partisan politics, drugs forayed into the Manipur in the late 1980s. From their own words, with the rise in cookie militants, drug proliferation also increased exponentially, both in terms of imported drugs and poppy cartel in the state. And thereby we'll see the nexus between militant groups and drugs, and the role of state and amount of influx that have come in to Manipur and Northeast from Myanmar. And with the number game that they have been playing, when their demographic population number is safe for them, and they have garnered all these weapons funded by drugs, and thereby they created this communal narrative to blame the Meiteis collectively for all the miseries of the Kuki community, and triggered this whole incident. It is the result of bad government policies, state inactivity triggered by drug mafia.
So this is not an ethnic strife, is what you're
Certainly
saying?
not. This is not an ethnic strife. It is only the fact is that the Meiteis have been made to shoulder the collective responsibility of defending the interest of Manipur. See, there are two groups of people, one who wants to balkanize the state, and one who wants to save the state. So it is very easy for any sensible person to find out who loves the land and who doesn't love the land.
So you've said this before, there is a clear nexus between the politicians, both at the central and at the state level, and the drug mafia. Can you take us through this narcotics terrorism and how deeply that our politicians are involved in it?
There have been many cases where politicians are involved in drug trials. There are many under trials also. Leaving that aside, when we look at the accountability angle legally, these cookie militant groups under suspension of operation and those who are not under suspension of operation, which are the satellite products of these parent organizations, they are into drugs, they are involved in drugs, and these militant groups, they are in ceasefire agreement with the government of India and the government of Manipur. So supposedly, government of Manipur is in custody of these groups, and if you find these people roaming freely in the highway, collecting taxes, involved in human trafficking, guarding poppy fields, collecting taxes from drug cartel, you will find the role of the state in drug proliferation, because somebody who is in their custody cannot roam around freely in the state with arms without their knowledge.
So you've directly accused Chief Minister Birensingh and his involvement in this entire drug cartel. His wife's name too keeps popping up. What is the connection? Can you elaborate this to our viewers?
See, why I'm pulling this up is Manipur is in deep crisis. We are in the deepest crisis in our history. Either we can save Manipur or not, depends on the steps and decisions that we make at the present. So in this crisis between this drug mafia and the whole interest of Manipur, we have to find out the genuine people who are for Manipur and the people who are throwing dust to the people of Manipur. And a problem of this magnitude, we cannot fight it without, able leadership, without honest leadership. And if the leadership is involved in protecting druglords and is not able to stand up against this drug mafia effectively, which he has not for the last 3 months, then naturally we have to question him. And Chandel district is one of the most highly poppy infested areas in the whole state. It is the district of his second wife. She is elected from that constituency. So if there is sincerely this war on narcotics, then Chandel should have been clean by now, isn't it? Chandel and Churachandpur, Chanapti district, these are some of the worst affected. His wife's constituency is dominated by cookies. She got elected by cookie votes only. So the natural logic is, will the husband go against the interests of the wife?
And is the center aware of this? You said that the center is aware of this and they are doing nothing about it.
See, it is their people who are involved in all these things. It's there in the national news, all over the media. And we have informed them time and again, all the concerned authorities, of what's taking place in the state and what are the, things that are likely to come up in the future. We have predicted everything to them. They know it, but they are not bothered. They are still not bothered. It's their party interest. For them, power is the only thing that matters to them. They are not concerned about public interest at all.
We are hearing things like, Amit Shah's son, Jayshah's involvement in all of this. We've been given to understand that Jayshah frequents Manipur.
I do not have personal knowledge about him visiting Manipur frequently, but there is the grapevine story going on around that, they are protecting the corrupt government in Manipur. I don't know how far it is true, these allegations are.
But what do you think is the end game of the center?
The end game of the center is the Meiteis will stand up, certainly. They are negotiating with these group of people who have come in from outside on the agenda of breaking up Manipur. It is going to certainly damage the relationship between Manipur and India, and it will conflagrate the age-old issue that we have been raising about our settlement of our merger agreement and the restoration of sovereignty. That is going to be the future.
So to the outside world, there is a general impression that both the center and the state is supporting the Meiteis.
See, central government, if they are supporting the Meiteis, they have deployed over 1 lakh central forces in Manipur. Where have they been used? You will find all these forces, be it the state police or the central forces, firing tear gas, lathi charges, rubber bullets only on the Meitei protesters. You will find none of these tear gas, rubber bullets or lathi charges on any of the cookie protesters. So you can simply make out which both the governments are supporting the cookies. See, the state, be it Biren or otherwise, the state is always primarily responsible for any situation of law and order in any state. So for the last over 3 months, law and order in the state has totally collapsed. It has completely broken down. So naturally, it is the government which has to take responsibility of the whole affair. And as for arming the people in both the communities, why people are being armed? Because of state failure. State has failed to protect the lives and properties of the people in both communities. So when they are warring against each other, they have to defend themselves, isn't it? So the state has forced people to take up arms.
And this is snowballing into a national security crisis, is what you said. How bad is the situation?
Situation is bad. The kind of brutality that we are committing on each other, it's like people are being buried alive, being chopped up alive, eyes being pulled out, intestines being ripped out, and being raped, paraded, and whatnot. We don't hear of these things, anymore in the modern world. These are only in fables and folklores. So the kind of brutality that is taking place in Manipur is the outcome of the whole long-term failure of government machineries and triggered by the drug mafia. And government of India should realize, should come to terms with the fact that this drug mafia has crept into all the vital organs of the state, and eventually they'll come to realize, and then it will be hefty for them, and they'll certainly need the help of Manipur to tackle this threat at a national level. And what is taking place right now, we predicted it long back, and what I'm predicting now is going to take place very soon in the near future.
But we are also hearing that this war is going to be a long-standing one. We are talking about 2 years, 3 years.
It is certainly going to be a long-standing war because the hurt that has been caused to both the communities are deep. It's extremely deep. You can't just get out of this crisis overnight. It will take long time for the war to get over, for people to heal, for people to come back to normalcy. There has to be truth and reconciliation. It has to start with a responsible and honest government. Without truth and reconciliation, it will be extremely difficult for both the communities to heal.
Both communities, in fact, the Meiteis and the native Kukis, have been demanding for peace. There is resentment, there is anger against each other. But you're saying that this is not an ethnic strife.
The power of drug cartel is so immense that it can influence all the public opinion, number one. And number two, these Kukis, native Kukis, who are blaming the Meiteis collectively for all the miseries and for all that we have subjugated them, they should present these contentions with facts and figures, not just as a narrative, because this involves the national security of a state. And narratives do not simply, work in all the cases.
So there is an allegation that these are refugees. This community is not really Indian. On the other hand, the Meiteis again have disassociated themselves from India. They do not want to be called Indian.
See, the Meiteis, we are one of the indigenous communities in the state of Manipur. Being indigenous, we love our land. This is our heartland, our motherland. The way government of India has been treating Manipur since 1949, for any patriot who belongs to the land, they won't accept it. But for these people who have flocked in from Myanmar, they have to play the card of being loyal to India. What else? They have to get the support of India to get their demands. This is just a game that they have been playing. They have been promoted to play this game to subdue the legitimate demands of the indigenous people of Manipur. So these are nothing new, and these games doesn't affect us in any manner. The real issue is people's impoverishment, people's lack of basic services and needs, bad governance, partisan politics. These are the real issues, not these issues, not these games.
When you Manipuris, say that you do not want to be part of India, you are in fact enjoying the central funds.
Where does these central funds go to? It goes to the pockets of the puppets that the government of India has installed successively. And see, why we do not feel as an Indian is ever since we merged with the Union of India, what has happened to Manipur for the last 75, 77 years? What has been the fate of Manipur? What has become of Manipur? Dividing people on ethnic grounds, all these cracks, all these fissures that have happened to my state. So how does India expect us to feel as one when they have brought the state to the state of affair? Well, how have they treated Gujarat? How have they treated Maharashtra? And how have they treated Northeast and Manipur? Can you blame us for not feeling enough Indian?
So if this partition were to take place, the boundary lands have been drawn up, what next for the dominant community?
This partition will not take place, number one, because these are illegitimate demands. First, we need to conduct NRC, block all the borders, seal the borders, conduct NRC in Mizoram and Nagaland, and then we conduct NRC in Manipur. We'll find out who is who, and after that we'll work for reforms in the standard of administration. The state of India tries to balkanize Manipur in any manner. These buffer zones that have been created, it is already drawing lines between the valley and the hills. So the majority community will have no option but to demand the settlement of our long-standing merger agreements issue and the restoration of sovereignty. In which case it will break India. So either India breaks Manipur or Manipur breaks India. That will be the stand.
And there's going to be more bloodshed in this regard?
It's going to be uglier than that. And when the Meiteis demand sovereignty, it is going to be very tough for India, because we are being forced to go for the merger agreement settlement.
But do you think that the center will move in this direction?
If the center can listen to Burmese immigrants, infiltrators, then why can't they listen to us?
So what's the Burmese angle in all of this?
The Burmese angle is there are too many Burmese in Manipur. There are the native cookies and there are the Burmese who have used the garb of cookies to naturalize in the state of Manipur, in the Indian nation. So we have to weed them out. Unless we weed them out from the state and the northeast, it's going to be a huge threat to the northeast and the whole of the nation. It has eaten, into the whole structural system of the whole country. They haven't realized that they are negotiating with these people. Think. So Manipuris, the Meiteis are left with no option but to go for our age-old demand. It's there, the armed struggle is there for restoration of sovereignty. So it becomes justified for us.
There is, yes, even if the center were to act, there are so many insurgent separatist groups which again have been holding Manipur at gunpoint and dictating terms. So do you think there is ever going to be a solution with so many players, so many stakeholders calling the shots?
Number one, the insurgent groups, none of them hold us at gunpoint here in Manipur. And regarding the solution, depends on government of India. The carrot and stick policy they have been following for the last 70 years is not going to work anymore. There has to be a confrontation between Manipur and India now. They are drawing lines within Manipur. They are playing all these tricks. We know it. And when we respond, either they want to keep Manipur intact and save its boundary, or they want to try breaking up Manipur, or we end up breaking India, because we have shown in the past what the Meiteis can do.
There are serious allegations that the Chief Minister himself instigated the violence and that he did nothing on days 1, 2 and 3. Why do you think that the Chief Minister is being blamed, or fingers are being pointed towards him?
In the theory of conflict, violence of this magnitude, and ethnic violence or communal violence of this magnitude cannot take place without the participation of the state. So naturally, the state has to be involved. The government of Manipur failed to respond to the crisis effectively on the 3rd and the 4th in particular. There was ample of time and opportunities, because Chanpur is a very congested town with all the basic amenities, with all the state machineries, state policies fully functioning there. all the central forces are deployed there. And the chiefminister was the unified commander at that point of time. He could have utilized all the forces, state police, to subdue the aggression on the 3rd of May itself, from 11:30 till 3. It's a lot of time. It takes just 45-50 minutes for the reinforcement to reach from Imphal to state police and central forces. So given these two facts, we have to question why the state machinery, state government failed to respond effectively on time to control the violence, and the theory of conflict that says that a violence of this magnitude cannot happen without the participation of the state. So what is the interest of the state in perpetuating and prolonging this violence? What are the benefits it get out of it?
You've been a decorated police officer, you forsake your career. Now you've jumped into politics. Do you think, being a politician, you can do better in terms of righting the wrong?
See, somebody had to sack up the system. This was going on for too long. It was destroying the state. So for me, the interest of my state comes first and foremost before anything else. So it had to be me, somebody who could challenge the system and who could sack up the system. Being part of politics doesn't mean that I can win the election. There is too much money in our electoral system which an honest person cannot go in and play the game. Being part of politics for me is about sacking up the system, bringing about the requisite reformation, so that we'll be able to take care of our land on time, even though it's a bit late. But we'll certainly turn around. People have woken up. People have come to aware of, about the threat narcotics mafia is posing to the security of the state. So we are seeing results.
So what is your role in all of this? As a politician, how are you contributing towards?
My role is towards bringing awareness to the general mass, because people from all communities, we have to wake up to know who the real enemies are, and we have to realize that the communities, ethnic communities, are not responsible for each other's miseries. We have to come out of that psyche, communal psyche, and we have to hold agencies and institutions which are responsible for our state of affairs responsible, and people have to come to terms with the fact that it is the governments, both the center and the state, which have been playing havoc with our lives, and we have to hold them accountable. This is the role that I'm playing.
So when you jumped into politics again, there was a lot of speculation as to why you were, choosing, or why you had decided to do this. You've said your background too has been questioned, being the daughter-in-law of former UNLF chief, and also to be taking on the BJP. So there is you are under suspect, saying that this is just, you are using this as a political, this entire drug or narcotics terrorism issue as a political platform for yourself.
See, I was one of the police officers who seized maximum number of drugs in the whole of India. This took place long before I joined politics. I resigned from my service 2 times, fighting both the successive governments for their misgovernance. In my second stint, I realized that as a police you can't do nothing. With the kind of political nexus the executives and the government has, legislatures have, with the kind of interference that these politicians have on the executive, especially the state police administration, it wasn't going anywhere. And the magnitude of the problem we are in drugs is so huge that somebody had to wake up the state. Otherwise we'll die without even waking up, without even realizing what killed us. So if it was about politics, then I would have launched myself from a much bigger platform, given the background that I have. The only objective that I had was to sack up the system. I was never going to win the election. I knew it. but then somebody had to sack it up. If it is part of politics, then I should have earned enough money. While I was there as a police, I could have made crores. I could even, be friend with the minister. All this while, I was on his good book. I was bringing laurels to the new government. So I could have comfortably stayed in my service, made money, and comfortably forayed into politics, win elections, and gotten the power. Had I wanted real power, isn't it?
Right. So all the work that you've done as additional SP, do you think it's been undone after you left the service?
No, it's not undone. We are seeing results. The whole of state has woken up to the threat of drug mafia now. Even though I have sacrificed a lot, I have given up my service, my security, my financial security, the security of my children, my family. But the end result is that people have woken up everywhere throughout the nation, throughout the whole nation, throughout India. People are shouting narco-terrorism. They are shouting all these slogans against drugs. There is a general awakening. There is the consciousness coming in about the threat of these drugs on the national security. So we are seeing results. It's worth it.
Coming back to the conflict in itself, we're seeing the women of Manipur at the forefront. So the women have literally taken it upon themselves to guard, protect their own communities. In the process, there have been instances of violence as well. Do you think what the women of Manipur are doing is warranted?
Historically, women of Manipur, especially the Meitei community, we have always been in the forefront of protecting the society. We have these two women's war. These are the only women's war that have taken place throughout the world. And right now, people have been left to fend themselves. State forces are nowhere visible. They are visible, but they are not proactive. They are not active at all in controlling the violence. So the people have been left to defend their own villages, their own children, their own family. So naturally, given the role that women have played in our society, women will naturally come forward to protect their families, their communities in the presence of an inactive state. Because when state machineries fail, it is the people who take law into their own hands. So we can't blame the women or the people for taking law into their own hands, because this has happened because of state failure.
But the Mehra babies have also been accused of having instigated the violence. There are allegations, there is evidence even of them handing over Kuki women to the Meitei men. This is a very serious and strong allegation by the Kuki community. There have been some Meitei women who have even said yes, violence was not warranted.
See, they are throwing all these wild allegations against the Mehra babies. Things turned into a mob when violence erupted. In mob is characterless. You don't know which one is who. And maybe some women participated or not, we don't know. We don't have proof of that till now. You can't blame the Mehra babies. You can't brand all the women as Mehra babies. And you can't just simply label. There have been women who have been raped in Churachandpur. There have been women who have disappeared in Churachandpur. We haven't found them. Can we blame their Kuki women to have taken part in that rape, in the disappearance? We can't know. You can't simply generalize Mehra baby, and blame them for everything. They are the vanguards of our existence, very existence today.
Do you ever see the Meiteis and the Kukis living together peacefully?
We will live together peacefully in the coming future. It all depends on good governance and a reformation in our political system.
Also, what next for you? The youth of Manipur think that you're going to be the game changer politician, and they're really looking forward to your role, to your participation. There is excitement of your involvement in politics. So what next for you?
See, game has to be changed. Number one, this game that has been played for 75 years, it has to be changed. To change the game, there will be game changers. There are many game changers who are lining up, who are coming together for the requisite change in Manipur. Things will change in the near future. Although we have to struggle a bit hard, but we all have to come together to see the desired result.
Yeah, but what next for you? Are you going to be contesting again? Do you have any plans?
Right now, I'm not in a position to take any decision on my upcoming steps, because I just had a personal tragedy. I lost my son, and my family is going through a big crisis because of the loss, and we are not in a proper mental frame of mind to take any decision. Certainly nothing is out of option. We'll work it out and we'll see.
Our condolences to you and your family, and also thank you so much for giving your time and speaking to us. All the very best to your future ventures.
Thank you. I wish you all the best. I wish that Manipur returns back to normalcy, and then we prosper and grow together, and there is peace.
Thank you.
ಮತ್ತಷ್ಟು ವಿಶೇಷ ವಿಡಿಯೋಗಳನ್ನು ನೋಡಲು ಮತ್ತು ಹೊಸ ವಿಡಿಯೋಗಳ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ತಿಳಿಯಲು
eedina.com ಯೂಟ್ಯೂಬ್ ಚಾನೆಲ್ ಸಬ್ಸ್ಕ್ರೈಬ್ ಮಾಡಿ
ಮತ್ತು ಬೆಲ್ ಐಕಾನ್ ಕ್ಲಿಕ್ ಮಾಡಿ.